All right, well, it is 2:05, so I think we can go ahead and get started. I will start with introductions. Um, just want to make sure, Mark, can you hear me? All right, you're still on mute.
I'm here.
Okay.
All right. All right, so I'll go ahead and introduce Mark Croft. He's our speaker today. And Mark has been very involved in this community as a support group, um, running a support group in Ocala, and he's an expert by way of personal experience. So we are very pleased to have him talk today about navigating this landscape, and I will go ahead and introduce that this presentation is being put on by the Dementia Cure and Care Initiative Task Force of Mid-Florida, which is an initiative of the state of Florida. So we are here. Uh, the University of Florida co-chairs this task force with Elder Options. And so Elder Options reached out to Mark. They work with him a lot to give a presentation to us today to help families navigate their care options. So I am going to hand the microphone over to him and let him share his screen. And what I will do as well is I will share some documents in the chat. I'll upload a few attachments for those of you who might be looking for I'll have some attachments related to Mark's talk, and there's some resources that can help you beyond today. So take it away, Mark. Thank you for participating and being our presenter today. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's see if I can do this right. Oh, okay. Can everybody see the screen and see some words?
No, I just see you.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. What have I done wrong here? Let's see.
See,
Now I see her.
are you clicking on share on the bottom?
I clicked on share, yeah, at the bottom, and it
No.
didn't bring it up. Let's see. I brought up the
Okay.
white screen. Oh, and then maybe I gotta do share again.
There
Okay.
you go. You
Okay.
got it.
Okay.
Yep, we can
Okay,
see.
now we got
Perfect.
it.
Now you got it. Okay. Okay. Well, just to touch base with you, I know many of you caregivers are like me. You get overworked, underpaid, exhausted, and you have times that you feel like I'm really letting my person down. And I just wanted to start off by saying I've been doing this for 14 years. I know that feeling. And it really isn't a feeling of failure, but it's really a feeling of a need for reaching out and getting some help. And I just want you to know that there's help around, uh, and I'll be giving some insights into how to access that help. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat, and Jessica will address those as soon as I go through the kind of some key points. And the first key point is for you to have some credibility with who you're listening to. And I've been a long-term care ombudsman for 14 years. I was, not anymore. And that represents about 300 cases that I investigated and worked with. God knows how many people and visits, truthfully. But I took care of my neighbor as well who had dementia and got her in a home. And my wife, I took care of her for 11 years, 4 years in a facility. And then I do lead a support group and do lectures at the Adult Education Center here in Ocala. So something went away. What happened? Um, well, I don't know what happened there. What are you all back seeing just me?
Yeah, switch the screen that you're sharing. So you'll want to click the share button again.
This will stop other screen sharing. Do you want to continue? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We're back to seeing the words
There we
now.
go. Yes.
Okay. Um, so I want to start off with when we're talking about needing help, what we're really talking about. We've got the very practical parts, your ADLs, your bathing, your dressing, feeding, toileting, all those essential parts that we're going to need some help with. But we also have life activities because it's very important that our people understand they still have a purposeful and meaningful life going on. It's very easy with my wife. She was so confused with what was going on with her own brain. She knew she wasn't working right. And so, as her caregiver, it was important for me to keep communicating to her that there were good things in life and that she could enjoy it. And for her, music was one of them, and it was very helpful. So I just want you all to realize we're talking about when you need help, it's not just the actual mechanics, but we also need the emotional. And the question always comes up, well, Mark, when should I plan? When's he going to be so bad that I'm going to have to get some help in? Or when is she going to get so bad that I've got to put her in a facility? And when I reassure people, typically it has very little to do with how your person is doing. It has to do with how we are as caregivers. And I can tell you, I took care of my wife for 7 years in our home. The last two, I did not sleep because she needed 24-hour care. And on two occasions, I hired people to come in and I hired them for 40 hours a week. I wasn't playing around. But in both cases, they were good caregivers and they lasted a little while. And then something would come up and they would have to go away. And so I decided I was going to have to turn to a facility because you can look it up. You've got a Stanford study that showed that up to 40% of caregivers will predecease the person they're caring for. I haven't seen that firsthand, but I would say what I have seen over my years is something in the area of 10 to 20% of those caregivers that, were taking care of somebody and before long they were gone. So it's important to look at the care need based on you as the caregiver, because the number one thing I teach in my classes is the caregiver must survive. If we don't survive as a caregiver, who's going to take care of our person? I was married to my wife for 40 years before she got dementia. There's no one else on the planet that knew that woman like I did. And so I could look at her and know if she had a headache, whereas others would look at her and she's sitting over there smiling. No, she's having a migraine headache and I have to get her some relief. So take care of yourself, caring for yourself. And I've got a whole series I teach on just caring for the caregiver. But that's your core is to, when you're thinking about, do I need help? It's not, do they need help? It's when you as the caregiver need help. And so I've got some outline here of some different places you can get help. And the first that we generally turn to is family and friends. And we're hesitant to do that because we don't want to impose, we don't want to be a burden to anybody. And I can handle it. We've got that tough old attitude that I can handle anything that comes down the road. And the truth of the matter is, when you're starting out a long ways, you probably can. But what you don't realize, and what I want to try to help educate you to, because let's face it, if you've been in this business over 6 months, you know there are things you wish you had known on day one that you know now. Well, I'm educating you to the fact that, yes, you can handle it now. Yes, you do have the energy. But if you don't take care of yourself and pace yourself now while you've got it, you'll wind up like me, totally burned out and with 2 years of no sleep, and you won't be in very good condition to do it. So family and friends need to be involved as much as you can. Oftentimes they're willing, but they don't know what to do. And oftentimes you don't know what to ask them to do. So what I suggest is you get out a pencil and paper, write down all the activities, all the things that you have to do. I got to go to the grocery. I got to pick up medicine. I've got to have somebody clean the yard. I got all the things that have to be done. Just make a list of it. And then when somebody asks them, you can either hand them the list or you could say, here's two things that I really need. There's one of those something that you would be willing to do. Give them some concrete framework to work from. Because most of them will tell you, well, if you need any help, Mark, just give me a call. And old Mark is saying, well, I don't know what they want to do. I don't want to be a burden, but we've got to pace ourselves. So provide that simple list. Now, there's also people don't think about the family that is at a distance. My kids are 1,000 miles away. I got 4 wonderful sons, but they're 1,000 miles away from me and mama. And what can they do? Well, there's lots they can do. They can do research about a medication. A doctor tells you, hey, we need to start taking Aricept. And well, what the hell's an Aricept? Well, they can do that research and then give you a thumbnail report on it. They can do research about programs. Mark told me I ought to get hooked up with Elder Options. What's Elder Options? What's their phone number? Who do I talk to? People at remote can do all that over the internet or with the phone. A simple thing your family can do from a distance is simply talk to your loved one. Put them on the phone with them and let them talk for 20, 30 minutes. That gives you an opportunity to fix supper. That's what Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy did for me, is that she loved those two programs and I could put her in front of Jeopardy and then I could go fix a meal. But you can have your family call. They can pay bills if you trust your kids enough and whatnot. They can take some of those responsibilities on, and then they can do things for you. Okay, well, I'm getting ready. It's Christmas time. Gosh, I don't have time to go shopping. Can you go shopping and just send me a few things? So think in terms of things that they can do from a distance because you really want to save your energy. Okay, so that's who we want to have as for family. But then we also have government and community resources. Now, I can only speak for Ocala area. If you're out of the area, there'll be similar organizations and opportunities, but this will help maybe point you to some places that you can look. Here we have an adult elder care center, which is run by a wonderful lady, my old boss, actually. And it's only like $75 for the day. They drop them off at 8 o'clock in the morning. They'll give them lunch. They'll entertain them, take care of them for all day. And then you go back at 5 o'clock. And you can do that for a few hours. You can do that for a few days. But you get some relief in terms of respite care. We also have a program in Dunellen, if you're over in that area, called Forget Me Not. It's over at the church. And these numbers and these contacts will be in some of the information that Jessica will be sending out to you. So you can write them down here. But look at adult daycare places where you can get some respite. Also, what you want to be doing is contacting Elder Options. I tell people that is the place you start. And if you haven't contacted them, you want to call Elder Options. Just call up with a very simple question. Just tell them, listen, I'm taking care of a senior person and I need to know what programs they might qualify for. When you do that, they're going to take your name and number. Somebody's going to get back to you and you're going to then be asked to a whole bunch of questions and they're going to do some research and figure out where you qualify for. There's programs there that are respite. In my own case, we qualified for getting some in-home care. So I had somebody come in for 2 hours every 2 weeks and would do some housekeeping. And even if they didn't, they just sat and talked to my wife. It made my life easier because I didn't have that eyes on her all the time. But they have Meals on Wheels if you can get qualified for that. And the food was just fine. In your neighborhood, in your community, in your state, wherever you are, there's going to be similar kind of program. Beyond the government and your family and local organizations, then you can get into private pay. And I want you to get a little education about how this works, at least for the state of Florida. And there may be some differences in other states, but here in Florida, we have two qualities or two characteristics of agencies that are licensed by our regulators. One is called companion care, and companion care people can fix meals, do vacuuming, talk to them, play cards, be respite kind of care. They can do everything, but they cannot touch the person. So they can't help them with a shower. They can't help them do bathing and all those kinds of things. In order to qualify for that, the agency you're looking for is called home health agency. So you want to get clear on those two, because when you go out and you start looking, you don't want to waste your time looking for the wrong agency. And so I wanted you to be aware that those two, companion care, no touch, home health, they can touch and or not touch. Home health typically is running around here $30 to $40 an hour, and I'm hearing it's even going up beyond that. They typically want a schedule, and they want 2 or 3 times a week, and they want 3 or 4 hours a time. And both companion and home health will be kind of in that line. They'll be licensed, they're insured. You can ask for backgrounds on all these things. That the workers are supposed to have bad background checks. There's regulations. So these are companies that you can really investigate and know you're dealing with somebody that can look after things. And they take care of all the tax issues so that the payment goes out. And then whatever you can do on your taxes with your accountant, then that's how you do. But there's a third category that I list as just independent caregivers. Typically, in my experience, these are people who have been in the business for a while. They may have worked at a facility. Some of them haven't. Some of them have just been independent their entire life. But the big thing I find with the independent caregivers is they're much more flexible in what they'll do. Whereas the agencies pretty much so want 2 or 3 times a week, 3 or 4 hours a shot. Many of the independent workers, if they come out, every Tuesday for 4 hours, they're happy to do that. Or if they, need them 2 afternoons a week, or if you're just going away. I mean, I've had cases where I had a particular case where the caregiving was starting to cause problems in the marriage because we were taking care of her mother. And so we got a caregiver that came in on Friday night, stayed till Sunday afternoon so they could go away and celebrate their anniversary and rekindle that marriage, because it was important to keep that marriage together too. So independent caregivers are a big asset. Now, you've got to make sure who you're dealing with. That's the reason most of the people that call on me, I know these particular people that I parcel out. They've worked for me for other families. Now, when I say work for me, that I said the wrong way, but they don't work for me. I don't make any money off of anything. I don't make any money as an ombudsman, as a caregiver, as a support group leader. There's no money in here. And I do that very deliberately because many of you know you find people offering you help, but you also know in their back of their mind is they're coming after you for something now or in the future where they're going to make some money. Particularly facilities, they're always offering something, but the whole idea is they are, what shall I say, smoothing the way for you to become a resident of their facility. I try to do it so that there's no question. I'm going to tell you what is and what isn't with no financial involvement in it. So when I say they're my girls, it's just people that I know are dependable. But you still want to make sure they've got insurance. If they've got a background check, you want to find that and discuss how you're going to manage the payments. And if you're going to take out taxes, if they're going to be a 1099 person, and they're getting kind of strict with that with the government. And some people find hiring an agency to be easier because the agencies do all that. But most of the independent workers will work for around $20 to $25 an hour, so you can save a fair bit of money. And like I say, they don't have the push on you to do more. So that'll give you a flavor of who you can reach out to, and some of the terminology and agencies to use. Then the question becomes, where am I going to do all this? Well, I can do it at home, and that's where we most always stay as long as we possibly can. There's familiarity. We can make it safe. We don't have to worry about any conflict with other people. We have a lot of control over that. But in the state of Florida, I want you to be aware that we have 3 licensed type facilities that you need to be aware of. We have adult family care homes, we have assisted living facilities, and we have nursing homes. And it's important for you to know these terms and to use them right, because if you say to your doctor, well, you know, she's getting awful bad, I'm going to have to put her in a nursing home. Well, he's going to look at you and say, your person's not even a candidate for a nursing home. And you're going to think, well, wait a minute, what's it? So now I want you to listen up so that you can understand where your person would go and you would have the right language to talk to them. So adult family care homes are facilities that are very much just like your house. They're licensed to have up to 5 residents. They're typically run by someone who's been in the business quite a while. Maybe it's a retired nurse or somebody who does nursing on the side and also does a facility. Their activity level tends to be less than what you will find in assisted living and nursing homes, but you have at least 1 to 5 ratio on staffing in an adult family care home. So you have that much tighter than you will, and we'll talk about the other ratios. But they're small. If you like the family kind of confinement, that can be a good. Assisted living facilities are what I would consider the next step up, because truthfully, when we created assisted living facilities in this country, they were designed to be what I call the love boat on land. They were designed for old farts like me who are just tired of cooking and mowing and cleaning. And you can go here and somebody will take care of everything. They'll come in, they'll clean your apartment. You can go down and eat. And if you want to run off to the mall or you want to go play golf with your buddies, this is perfect. However, what we've done is we've turned assisted living facilities into nursing homes. We have people there that are frail and have lots of needs, but the licensing for these places are not equipped to address many of the issues that are there. But nonetheless, that's what we have. And assisted living facilities, you're going to have a regulation as far as staffing that is much inferior to what the demand often is. Even the best and where you're paying the most money, they're still going to be running at maybe 1 to 10 or 1 to 20 in a assisted living. You get into the nursing homes, you're going to have a tighter amount of staffing, and you're going to have a nurse there all the time. Assisted living, you're not necessarily going to have a nurse. They don't have to have a nurse at all. They oftentimes will have a nurse for maybe 1 shift that'll come in and address things. Typically, they'll have a doctor that comes in once or twice a week. But those are what we would call associates with the facility. They're not the facility's staff member as such, but they work with the different doctors. I've got a whole session that I do on how to pick and pay for long-term care where I can get into more of this. I don't want us to run out of time to your questions, so I'm kind of moving through some of this rather quickly. But the big thing with assisted living that you want to watch for is if your person cannot transfer from one chair to another, they will not qualify for assisted living. They can have a little help while that happens, but if they can't really do that, then they will not qualify for assisted living. And where assisted living right now will cost you about $6,000 a month, a nursing home is going to cost you about $12,000 a month. So if circumstances get beyond the transferring, then you've got a real problem on your hands. If you go into assisted living and they're already there and then they start having problems, there's a couple of ways that can be dealt with. The most common thing is we put them under hospice care because dementia is considered a terminal illness. And so they can be under that. And I've seen people under hospice care for a year, 2 years. We had one gentleman in the support group, his wife was on hospice for 18 months and she plateaued. And so they took her off of hospice for about 6 or 8 months, and then she started to decline again. They put her back on hospice. So don't think about hospice as just the end of life care. Think about them as a resource as your person decreases in their capacity. Now, nursing homes, they of course have turned into hospitals as far as I'm concerned. They have people in there in very severe ailments. And we need to, and you may need that at some point, but as long as your person does not need skilled care, you won't qualify under Medicare for a nursing home. If your person is just more than you can handle, but they just need help with their activities of daily living, Medicare is not going to want to pay for that. If your person has a broken back or they can't move or they're bedridden, then Medicare will be more willing to pay for a nursing home. I made mention here of the discharge because I want you to be aware that in assisted living, your person can be discharged involuntarily for any reason whatsoever. All they have to do is say, we don't think you're a good fit for us anymore. You've got 45 days and you have to leave. So don't think that just because you put them in there, your life is all set to go on down the way. You're still going to have some risk involved and you're still going to have to be involved. Part of that class that I teach is how to manage those people once they're in a facility. The last thing here I want to make sure that you understand is memory care, because a lot of people think memory care is a type of facility, and it's really not. There is no such thing as memory care legally. There's no statute, there's no nothing that says that there's a memory care unit. Memory care unit is code word for locked. That's really all it amounts to. Typically, though, there will be higher staffing, typically somewhere between 1 and 7 and 1 and 10. And in my humble opinion, as an ombudsman and as a husband and as a friend, that staffing level is inadequate. I tell people, just think about it this way. You're taking care of your loved one in your home. I'm going to drop off 6 more in the morning and you're going to take care of them. Now, do you think that's good staffing? No, you're having enough trouble handling the one you've got. So we're in difficulty, but these are the regulations. These are what you're looking at, and I just want you to be aware. The training of people in, quote, memory units is not that much different than the straight assisted living or nursing homes. Most of our caregivers in memory units will have somewhere around 6 to 8 hours maybe of training. And they often tell me when I interview people, and you're going to be interviewing people to come to your home, and I would ask them, where did you get your dementia training? And they would say, oh, Mr. Croft, I've been doing this for 20 years. And well, honey, you could be doing it wrong for 20 years. And if they don't know the name Teepa Snow, or they haven't had some really formal training as far as dementia care, then you don't know what they know. They may know to be patient. They may know to slow down. They may know that these people act out a little bit from time to time, but to have the skills to know, how do I manage difficult behaviors? What are the words that are going to set them off? And what are the words that are going to comfort them? And what do I do if they say they want to go home? I want to go home, and they keep going towards the door. How do you manage that? If you don't have training for your head as well as your heart, you're going to be in a pickle. And a lot of these people in these facilities are just good-hearted people who came into this business and they've never really been properly trained. And I just want you to be aware of that. So when you're dealing with people, that you can actually investigate and find out what kind of training they've had. We have a facility here in Ocala that is Teepa Snow certified. Teepa Snow, if you don't know that name, she's a fantastic therapist that has really invested a lot of energy and knows her dementia stuff. But the people that were there when she did that training back pre-COVID, there's not a one of those people there. But the building is still Teepa Snow certified. So you've got to watch that kind of thing of what they're representing and what is. If you need any help with this kind of thing, you're welcome to call me. But let's move on to how we go about choosing them. And I have a little thing here that I've created. And you use your hand as kind of a remembering tool. So your thumb, you want a location that is as close to home as possible and on a path you normally travel. So if you run down to Walmart and there's a facility between you and Walmart, that would be a good one to investigate because it's easy for you to pop in and out. And there will be a dramatic difference between how a person is treated if that facility knows that family could pop in here at any time, day or night. They will get a different kind of care than, well, you know, their family's up in Michigan and they come down here at Christmas once a year to see you. That's different. So you want a location as close to home as possible and that is on a route you normally travel. The index finger, you want a place that has high staff to resident ratio. When I put my wife in a facility, when I did that, they had a 1-to-4 ratio, and that is unheard of in this area, in my area. But my attitude is even if Jesus is taking care of these people, if he's got 10 or 20 people, there's no way he can do it. So you can have the most good-hearted, well-trained, Teepa Snow could not take care of 10 people. No, it's just not going to happen. So you want to see what the ratio is and what their training is. Your middle finger, which is the longest finger of your hand, you want to use that to remind you about long-term fit. Will this facility keep my person indefinite? There are different licenses for different assisted living facilities that will allow them to keep a person longer than a normal assisted living. Because in assisted living, if you spend over 7 days in a bed, they're not supposed to keep you. They're supposed to move you on. But there are licensors that will allow that. And of course, you can use the hospice, but you want to find out from that facility their spirit in terms of, is their heart in trying to keep your person there, or is it a matter they just want fairly healthy people, and if they get to be a big demand, then we're just going to discharge them and send them down the road, and there you are as a family trying to take care of them. Your ring finger, use that to think about the heart of the facility, the environment, how clean it is. I use the analogy, don't put a redneck in the Taj Mahal. You want this facility to match what your person is comfortable with. And oftentimes when we move people into facilities, we go out and we buy them brand new furniture, brand new bed, brand new dresser. We're going to have it great for mom. Mom's really going to have it nice. And mom is sitting in a room that she does not know anything about. You want to use her furniture if you can. Use her bed. You want to make it so that the environment is as comfortable for her as possible and the people around here are warm and supporting. And then the little finger, use that, even though it's the littlest, we've got to have activities for these people. Otherwise, most of the facilities that I would go into, there would be at least half in the memory unit who were just wandering around or sitting in a corner. They had nothing to do. The classic, by law, they have to provide 12 hours a week. That's the law. So they have 10 o'clock in the morning, we will have bingo. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we will paint fingernails. And all the guys love that activity, don't they? Not so much. So you want to talk to them, what kind of activity? Ideally, you want activities from the time their feet hit the floor till their feet go back in the bed. They need to have those kind of options. Now, your person may be somebody that they just don't want to do activities. That's okay, but we want to have them constantly available so that they can participate when the spirit moves them, and it gives them socialization, it keeps them in touch, and makes their life a little better. So that's how we go about choosing. And like I say, I've got a whole class on that kind of thing if you ever want to take it. Just in closing, the closing as far as my comments, and we can get into questions. Uh, in my humble opinion, this is really sacred work. You are taking care of people who desperately need your help. But it takes more than a compassionate heart. It really takes a knowledgeable head. You've got it. YouTube is a fantastic tool. Get on there. If you don't know the name Teepa Snow, it's like TP, only it's Teepa. And just type in Teepa Snow and Alzheimer's or dementia. She's got all kinds of little 10-minute videos on there that'll help you. Dr. Natalie is on there. She's fantastic. She's really good with this stuff. But you need to get your heart in the right place and your head. You need to know you'll burn yourself out if you don't understand how to take care of these persons. And get the protection that you need for yourself. We've got to take care of you, or you can't take care of the person. So when you're doing things to help you, you can feel guilty. Well, I shouldn't be out here playing cards with the girls because mom's back there and she gets upset if I'm not there. You've got to keep your own mental health strong. You got to keep your body strong. That is a gift to them as well as it is to you. And you're going to need help from day one in this business. I know when I took my first Savvy Caregiver class, which is something that if you get a chance to take, you want to take Savvy Caregiver. It's given by Elder Options. But Tom Rinkowski, I'm telling Tom, he's saying, well, you're going to need help. And I'm telling Tom, listen, I don't want to bother my boys. I don't want to bother it. And he just looked at me like, you dumb fool, you don't know what you're talking about. And he was exactly right. I didn't know what I was talking about. I felt like, hey, I take care of my wife. You need help, you need support. And I was very blessed. The good Lord sent a lady by and she volunteered to help me so I could go on and do some teaching. I was still doing some classes, and it worked out wonderful. And then we started hiring people. But that should hopefully give you some overview of how to go about getting some help. And if Jessica's got some questions for me there, I can take down this. I think the only other thing I had up here was, well, we don't need to get into all that, but I have a class that I teach if you're close enough and you want to go to my classes over at Top of the World. I start a new series in January. And then I have a support group that you're more than welcome to attend. And if it's too far, then you need to find a support group because face it, we caregivers are the only ones that really understand this. Even if we have loving families, they're not living with this 24 hours a day and they really don't get it, but other caregivers do. So I'm going to shut up and let Miss Jessica start giving me some questions and whatnot. And I'm going to try to unshare my screen here, I think. Stop sharing. Let's see. There we go. Okay.
Well, we appreciate you sharing because this has been really informative and helpful. And I think you've defined a lot of terms for people who may not have been familiar with these stages and options available. So one question we have is for the caregiver who has their mom aging at home. What kind of activities might be available for them? So a parent with mid-stage mixed dementia, still at home, doesn't always want to participate, but how do we keep her active?
Okay. It's going to depend on the type of dementia. Now, 60% are Alzheimer's. And if you're dealing with Alzheimer's, be thanking the good Lord.
Hmm.
Because Alzheimer's patients tend to want to be cooperative and want to help. So the thing that we can do there that's very common if it's a lady is have her fold clothes. She can fold clothes twice a day and she will feel like she's doing something or fit towels. I had a gentleman that he raked leaves all the time out. Well, he was getting cold and his wife said, well, what am I going to do with him? So I said, go buy a shredder. and then have all your friends give you all their junk mail. And so he would shred paper for her. So the approach is, Mom, would you help me with this? And so you have them do those kind of activities that seem significant and meaningful to them and that aren't a risk. That might be a helpful suggestion.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. Um, So we have also a question from one person wondering, what do you do when the parent is in assisted facility hours away? So this attendee is saying she works full time and she's managing the care from a distance for the last 6 years, and it's exhausting. When she talks to the facility and asks simple questions, she feels reprimanded rather than supportive, which has been discouraging. Um, so any advice for people who are managing a parent from a distance? And also regarding self-pay costs, how is someone realistically expected to afford this? So if you want to keep someone close, affordable, and familiar, it's not always, affordable for the family. So moving furniture, things like that, it can get really expensive. So do you have any, so the two-part question, any advice for people with a parent in a facility or who are caregiving with a person in a facility far away, and any tips on managing finances?
Yeah, okay. As far as caring for them, a couple things to know about. If you don't know about the Ombudsman program, just real briefly, every state in the union is required by the federal government to have an Ombudsman program. I know that's a big word, but it simply means advocate. So you can contact the Ombudsman office in that state and just tell them what's going on with mom, what you're not liking, and they can then go in and investigate. There is no charge. Ombudsmen do not charge. There's no fee for that whatsoever. The other thing that I would look about doing if it was remote is I would be contacting, if mom lives at a distance, then mom had a community before she got the dementia. Maybe she went to a church or a mosque or a synagogue. Maybe she was a part of the Lions Club. You want to contact somebody there and say, I need to find a caregiver for mom that can oversee mom while she's in the facility. And so hire them for like maybe 4 hours a week to stop by a couple times at the facility and see how mom's being treated. And that way you have firsthand information. If they then report to you that there's something not right, then a person can get what is called a care planning meeting. And so then what you want to do is you want to tell a facility, I want a care planning facility, a meeting. I want the doctor there. I want the nurse there. I want my caregiver there. I want my brother to be able, I want to know what day and hour it's going to be, and I'm going to come so that you have it all orchestrated. And then you have on your list, make your list of the things that are troubling you and address that. So get the government agencies involved and then also have your own private caregivers involved, which leads us into money. Yes, this is expensive as can be. And how do you deal? Now, I can talk best about Florida, but maybe some things will apply. In the state of Florida, you can get on Medicaid and get a long-term care insurance package that will help you with some of the costs. In order to do that, currently, you have to have assets of less than $2,000 and less than $2,901 in income. And so a house and a car do not count. So if mom still got a house, she doesn't have to sell the house to qualify for Medicaid. But there's some hoops to jump through. But if you can get her on Medicaid and get the long-term care insurance, that will give you about $1,500 towards her care. In the state of Florida, about the least expensive you're going to find is about $3,000, and you're probably not going to like that place. But it'll be a shared room in a memory facility that it may be all you can give. If you're going to get something fairly nicer in a private room, you're going to be paying $6,000 to $7,000. In Ocala, The most expensive one is Windsor of Ocala, and last I knew they were at $9,000 a month. So much of this money is out of reach, but not much we can do about it. We either pay it, we can, if she's got a house, we can get money out of that. But I would definitely move towards getting that in the Medicaid. If they're still at home, for you people who are still at home, you need to call Medicaid, you need to call Elder Option and tell them you want to know about the GUIDE program, GUIDE. It's the first time Medicare has come out, and they are giving up to $2,500 a year, and that's for respite care, so that you could put them in a place for maybe a week or two and get a rest for yourself. Or I've got one gentleman, he's getting 26 weeks, 3 hours a week. So he's getting a good afternoon that he can go and restore himself a little bit. So there are ways of getting money. Check with VA. VA has money and resources. So you need to look at these other resources.
All right. Now, we don't have any other questions in the chat,
Okay.
but I will, if anyone else has any questions, or if you wanted to just pose your question, you can unmute yourself.
So you mentioned a lot about Ocala. I'm in Gainesville, and I do know I've worked with elder care as far as I've done the Savvy Giver course, and this is my second or third Zoom. I'm taking care of my husband, who is 15 years older than me. So I'm hoping that I'm not going to die before him. Not that I'm hoping he's going to die, but I'm just saying I feel like I'm in good shape. I am still able to leave him alone. And so I am able to go grocery shopping, get some exercise, do things but I know that at some point, I don't know, and that's my big concern is the unknown, not knowing what I'm going to be having to deal with. He does have one daughter that lives in town. I haven't asked her for any help, mainly because we just don't see much of her. And I don't know. And right now I'm looking at, let's make a list. And if she does offer, okay, here, pick something, anything, whatever. But I'm sure that at some point it's going to get worse, and it's not now. So it's not like now I can sign him up for something, because he's not interested in that. We have a dog, and he is very keen on walking the dog and taking care of the dog, which is great because I think that gives him a focus. And my concern is that when she dies, that's going to be concerning to me, and I'm sure to him. And I don't know that getting a new puppy, or maybe I can adopt something, but whatever. Anyway, so what do you, because he was saying a lot about Ocala, so I'm just wondering, Gainesville, is elder care my best option for getting in touch with them?
Elder care is geographically located there in Gainesville, so you could even go to their office.
Yeah.
And I think Johnny was on the call here. I don't know if he still is, but
although I will say it's like totally the other side of town for me. I'm on the east side of town, and that place it couldn't be any further away.
Well, are you involved in a support group at all?
No, so I'm not at this point, only because, again, I feel pretty comfortable because of the fact I can leave him alone. And
okay, so you're going down the road that is what most people travel, and you don't want to take that road. You're looking at what is. I want you to look at what's coming. I want you to be so far ahead on this curve that you're ready. I had a wheelchair in my garage for 2 years before my wife needed it, but I knew it was a high probability someday she's going to need a wheelchair. And when I needed it, it was 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Where the hell am I going to get a wheelchair at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning? So I want you not to think in terms of, well, he's okay now. I want you to think, what's coming at me? let me get prepared because Murphy will show up. He
Yeah.
always does. But if we're prepared for him, he doesn't wreak the havoc that he wreaks when we're not prepared for him. So I want you to get into a support group. And the way to do that, call Elder Options. They know about different support groups. Call churches, call the facilities. Call if there's a facility not too far, a nursing home or assisted living, call them and ask them because many of them have support groups because they use that as a marketing tool to draw people in. But get in support groups because you want to be talking to people who know what's going on a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. And so that you can then be prepared for that. Um, you do that with everything. I mean, your medication, I had my wife's medication locked up long before, and she never was a big risk, I don't think. But I didn't want to run the risk of going to an emergency room because I thought, was she still okay? You don't know. I mean, I had a gal, her husband was on a walker. She put locks on all the doors. We got him safely in. One morning at 5 o'clock, she got a call from the gatehouse. He was there. He had gotten out of the garage using the overhead garage door button and fallen. And so, but you've got to stay ahead. You've got to stay ahead. So don't think about just what you need now. Yes, but use what you've got now. The fact that you do have the freedom to go. But just be always on guard because that's going to stop. Their day is coming. He's not going to be able to be left alone. And so you
Yeah.
want to have already interviewed caregivers that you trust so that when that day comes, you can either call Mildred or Sue or Barbara because you interviewed them maybe 2 years ago and said, listen, I really liked you. You hit it off with us. You liked my husband. Are you available? Can you give me a few hours? Don't wait till you need it to get it ready.
So I can get a list of caregivers that I can interview from elder care?
I don't know that elder care does. I have a list, but you can, what you would do is what I would suggest is that you talk to these social organizations. There's probably a senior care uh, facility in Gainesville for like our adult care center. Go to there. You've got to have senior facilities there. So just go to those buildings. Just tell them what you're dealing with. Do you know any caregivers? And then interview those caregivers and interview many of them because you don't know the one that you love the most won't be available the day you need them. So
Okay.
you want to have a backup. The same I tell all of my students, pick out 2 assisted living facilities and 2 nursing homes that you find acceptable because he's wonderful right now, but you
Right.
don't know what he's going to be like tomorrow because if he has dementia, he has a deteriorating brain. One fall can move him from where he is now into late stage dementia. It takes one fall to do that, and that takes 15 seconds to happen. So you need to be ready for that when it happens.
Okay.
Am I scaring the hell out of you?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's good because listen, we don't think far enough ahead, and we really need to with this disease because it can change overnight. It normally shouldn't. And if you ever do see a dramatic change, particularly with Alzheimer's, um, it's generally caused from a UTI, and it's not a big step in the disease. Some of the diseases will do that, but most
Yeah, I
most
don't
of the
think he
time.
has Alzheimer's. The neurologist said it was dementia.
Okay, well, see, have you taken Savvy Caregiver?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Well, they didn't clean up your language, honey.
I'm sorry.
Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. Dementia is an
Right.
umbrella term.
Okay.
So you want to be talking in terms of what he actually had. If he's got frontal temporal dementia, Alzheimer's, vascular, Lewy body, Parkinson's, those are all types of dementia.
And
So
the
you,
neurologist should be able to tell me?
they tend to not want to tell you because if they tell you something and it turns out not to be so, they can get sued. I had my wife's brain scanned to find out. And what the report came back was, quote, not inconsistent with Alzheimer's, end quote. They wouldn't even say after a scan if she had
Yeah,
Alzheimer's because if it was mixed dementia, like Jessica just mentioned, well, you didn't tell me that, I'm going to sue you. And that's their number one goal. Don't get sued. So it doesn't, you're going to have to diagnose it. You're going to have to figure out what's going on. And so getting educated, and TIPA does a good job of that. There's lots of stuff out there that'll help you, but it doesn't matter what you really name it. You've got to be ready for everything.
right. Can you tell me about that Antifa again?
TIPA, TEEPA,
EEEPA.
snow, SNOW, TIPA, snow, and just go on YouTube, type in her name and Alzheimer's, and you should get a whole bunch of education.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And Judy just put her name in the chat for those of you who might be wondering as well how to spell that. Well,
Thanks.
thank you. This has been very helpful, very informative, and thank you, Mark, because at least now everyone will have your contact information if they have follow-up questions, but also some resources, and hopefully, start planning now or improve their situation using some of these tips. So thank you very much, and I hope thank you everyone for joining us. Again, the DCCI, we put on quarterly presentations, so I will reach out in the future with other presentations we're doing, and please reach out to me if you need any information or need those handouts again. And I hope everybody has a peaceful holiday season and that is relaxing and not stressful. And I wish everybody a happy new year as well. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.